Welcome to the MYS Virtual Hangout. Here's your host, MYS Music Director, Raul Gomez.
Good afternoon and welcome to the MYS Virtual Hangout number 58. To you, it's Thursday, November 5th, but I'm actually coming to you from the past. This interview was recorded last week on October 29 in a world where we didn't yet know the results of the 2020 presidential election, which you, watching on November 5th, you probably already know. I guess there's a chance that maybe you don't, a couple of days after the election. But regardless, I think this hangout is going to bring you joy. Ricardo Gallardo is the founder and artistic director of Tambuco Percussion Ensemble. And before we go any further, I want to ask you to do something. Please take out your calendars on your phone, and I want you to save the date for an upcoming free virtual concert presented by Friends of Chamber Music by Tambuco Percussion Ensemble. The event is on November 8th at 3 p.m. And you're going to go to the Friends of Chamber Music website, that's FOCM.org, and you're going to stream this amazing concert by Tambuco. The concert will actually be available for 48 hours after the 8th at 3 p.m. But I hope you will join me in watching it as it premieres, right at 3 p.m. on the 8th. Ricardo Gallardo, the founder of Tambuco, spoke with me from Mexico City, and the interview actually started at a beautiful public square just around the corner from his house. Enjoy. Ricardo Gallardo, bienvenido al MYS Hangout número 58.
Muchas gracias. Contentísimo de estar compartiendo con ustedes.
It's such a pleasure to talk to you. And the first thing I have to ask you is, where are you? It looks beautiful behind you.
Yes, it is beautiful. Well, I'm very glad to join you for this interview. And the place where I am is very, very close to my home, which is just merely 20 meters away from here. This is a very historic part of Mexico City. I am in the neighborhood of Coyoacán, and it's very historic, as I was saying. Just behind me, you can watch this beautiful church from the 17th century.
Wow.
It's one of the first churches in Mexico. And this is the neighborhood where Cortés used to live.
Wow.
Actually, I lived right in front of one of the first historic houses of Mexico, which was the house of Malinche, Cortés's wife.
Wow.
So we will be able to see, and we will be able to see also the restoration works that they are having place, because the earthquake that we had in 2017 affected this house.
Sure. Wow.
So now is being restored. But this is a beautiful park. This is a beautiful park. As you can see, people come here and exercise, like this guy behind me, which is jumping rope.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
And it's full of trees, and it's really a beautiful area.
And
many of the houses are colonial houses from that time.
And what a beautiful day too. It looks sunny and nice.
Yes, well, it's Mexico, and we have sun. We like sun. Also, Mexico, at least Mexico City, rainy season just finished.
Okay.
As you know,
right.
We have a rainy season of about 6 months, and then a dry season.
Yeah.
So that's the contrast that we get, as opposed to spring, summer, fall, and winter, which if you go to more northern latitudes, then it changes.
Sure.
And right now I'm walking towards my house, where we will have the rest of this interview.
Sure, yeah. One of my favorite cities in the whole world, Mexico City. I just love it so much, and it's such a vibrant cultural scene.
Yes, well, we should not forget that historically, Mexico has been an important producer of culture. Even before the arrival of Europeans, this city, I mean, this region, I was going to say this country, but back then it was more a gathering of several nations, you
Right,
know.
sure.
This is the house, the Malinche's house. And it's a very, very old house. And as you can see, that scaffolding is
Yes.
just they are making different works of restoration.
Yeah. Yes.
I
Wow.
was saying that historically we have been producers of cultures. We have a legacy of amazing, amazing architecture that we can enjoy in the pyramids, for instance,
Yes.
or we have inherited great pre-Hispanic poetry or painting as
Yeah.
well. We just arrived home. I live here
Wow.
and
Yes.
I'm entering
Just around the
my
corner.
house. I invite you to come here and
Thank
join
you.
me.
Thank you. Yeah, you're welcoming
So,
us into your house.
mi casa es tu casa.
Muchas gracias. Muchas gracias.
Yes. So here we are.
How long have you lived here in this house or this neighborhood?
Well, I've always lived around this area, which is the south of the city.
Yeah.
You know, and
Even growing up when you were
yes,
a
when I
kid?
was a kid, I used to live about 15 blocks from here.
Oh,
You
wow.
know,
Okay.
so I've been always a chilango. That's the people from the south of the south of the city.
Sure, sure.
I mean, sorry, chilango is a person who lives in Mexico City, but I've been always a southern chilango.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
And you've been all over the world. You've lived in other parts of the world also when you were studying, and well, you keep coming
Yes.
back, right? Because it's such a wonderful
First,
place.
first of all, I studied here at UNAM, the University of Mexico, and then I moved to Canada. I went to study at the Banff Center in Canada, which is an important place for the arts, you
Yes.
know. And back then you could do postgrad studies there. Right now that has changed, and now you go for shorter residencies. But I lived there, and then I moved to Vancouver, and while living in Vancouver, I got a grant. It's called a fellowship from the British Council to do another master's degree in the UK.
Yeah.
So I moved to the UK, and I continued both my academic life and musical life there. When I was there, I was already playing a lot as solist. So I travel a lot within the European circuit of concerts.
Yeah. And did you always know that you were going to come back to Mexico, or no?
Not always,
Yeah.
not always, but it was a time to decide. And one of the key factors that made me decide was the beginning of Tambuco. You know, before Tambuco, I was playing solo for many years, more than 10 years. And I always kept coming, you know, commuting somehow to Mexico, always, because I had concerts here and then I had to leave, but my base was London. And then, but I missed so much the performance in chamber music, especially because my colleagues are also really good friends.
Yeah.
And
Right.
we also share a really good sense of humor. So the all the sessions with Tambuco, up until present day, they are full of well-being, humor, sharing music, which is beautiful, and that makes it with an added value. You know, I mean, we work really hard. We are very serious, and we work for long hours while we are in rehearsal sessions. Um, so it's a very interesting experience, because also these sessions, I would call them sessions instead of rehearsals, because it's not just going there and okay, let's rehearse this piece. Okay, next one. No, we take our time, and we know that when we are meeting, it's going to be all day long,
Right.
you know.
Wow.
So our studio is not in Mexico City. That's one of the reasons. So we travel 3 hours out of the city in a place where you're just secluded,
Sure.
just in the studio. There's nothing else there. There's a river also very close to the studio. Our neighbors are chickens and dogs and animals that are around there, and then we have our studio, and we spend all day there.
Yeah.
But this all day includes lots of conversations about what we want to do, lots of telling jokes. But then we say, let's work, and then we work. You know, I'm very focused, very concentrated in what we're doing. So one of these sessions is equivalent, I guess, to 3 or 4 rehearsals in the city, where people is like, oh, I got to go because I got to go somewhere. Or phone calls. No, we are just secluded, as you well said, in a retreat.
Right. And do you ever like stay like several days in a row? Or
Yes,
so
yes. That's how we do it. You know, the dynamics of this is first a lot of individual work. Here at home, I learn my parts.
Sure.
And I do my own private individual practice, so that when we arrive there, everyone is ready and we just ensemble all the parts.
You hear that, Metropolitan Youth Symphony students? That's how it works.
Yes, you know, and it's very important when you learn, and as a student, it's so important to learn that your work, or the lack of it, it has an immediate effect in the others.
Yes.
So we are 4, and we cannot afford to say, oh, can we do this slower for me because I didn't have time to practice, because the others are going to say, come on, man. I was just killing myself, trying to be ready for this rehearsal, and I am ready.
Yeah.
I nailed every passage, you know.
Well, because
so
then it's fun. Then you can have fun, and then you can have this interaction.
Fun. Yes, and then you go immediately towards music, you know, because we all musicians hate the technical part of it, you know, because that seems heavier, you know.
Right.
But when everything is in your fingers or in your chops, as they say in English,
right.
And then you can go right away to your interpretation, to your emotions. How do you want to project sound? How do you want to express that feeling that will have audiences sitting on the edge, you know? And that's the beautiful part of music. That's certainly something that we will miss a lot, at least during this time, because that communication, the direct link
Yes.
with the audience is crucial. I remember one great conductor that we had. Actually, it has been really difficult, and I could say that no one really had filled his shoes here in Mexico. I'm talking about Eduardo Mata,
Sure, of course.
and and he would not have an easy time during this pandemic close down time, because he was very sensitive and very sensible towards the lack of audience. I mean, if there was a full house, he just shined and grew, and he was a giant
Yeah.
on the podium,
Yeah.
But if the house was half full or less, he would also dim,
Sure.
It's like a light, like
Sure.
he would dim and he would be very affected because he played for the audience, he conducted for the audience. And we all musicians, I am affected by that too, I don't play just to display um, uh, intricacies or virtuosism or just to self-please
Yeah.
me, you know. I think that we musicians, I always say, and I will repeat it once more, we are not musicians. It's music which manifests through us.
Yes.
And we are just the vehicle to deliver this beautiful art to the audience,
Yeah. Yeah.
So we are suffering, musicians, we are suffering. We are doing the best to adapt in situations, luckily we have Zoom, we have these digital devices,
Sure.
whatever name they have, with the possibility of seeing the image of a musician and the sound of a musician.
Yeah.
But to say that the music is there is still, I don't.
It's so
I don't
hard.
quite accept. It's very hard.
We're all longing for that connection. I was just thinking about this. I was walking my dog last night
Yes.
in the neighborhood, and I was thinking, I have not conducted a downbeat since March, right?
Yes.
And that
Yes.
direct line of energy in the orchestra with the musicians and with the audience is something that we all look forward to returning to. But
Yes.
the way that you're describing this interaction and this connection with the audience is, I think, one of the reasons why Tambuco continues to be so relevant. 1993 is when it was founded, right?
That's right.
So
That's right.
27 years, and
Yes,
the
and
group is
still feel like yesterday.
right. So what else do you attribute to that sustained relevance?
I think it's a connection. And we mentioned a key word, is connection with audience. As a kid, when I started studying music at the Conservatory, I was 11, but at the same time, I was also fascinated by traditional music. It was in a time in which there was a boom of Latin American music. Mostly we got to know about it because the exiles that suffer Argentina or Chile,
Sure.
when
Cuba.
their dictaduras, and also, of course, a lot of Cuban population, especially in the United States and New York, how they projected this new sound of traditional music combined with big band salsa.
Sure.
Back then, I was closer to this, to the music making in these so different instruments, because instruments seem to represent the idiosyncrasy of a culture,
Yeah.
a specific local culture. So I was looking, wow, that's a cuatro and charango and then all these flutes, and then in Mexico, a whole universe of instruments as well, you know. And I was very curious to play on them, you know. So somehow that was brought to Tambuco, this essential freshness of music uh, was brought to the platform of Tambuco.
Yeah.
And curiously enough, as a great coincidence, all of the Tambuco guys, we met in the university studying percussion and playing percussion ensemble music. We all were exposed somehow also to other forms of music. Alfredo, also when he was studying music at the same time, he was playing vibraphone in a Latin jazz combo. Raul, he used to play drums as well, and he's still nowadays a big fan of rock music, you know, the progressive rock music. And as well as Miguel, the youngest member of Tambuco, he was also studying, and he took some years after he finished university to go to Los Angeles to study at the Drummers Institute. So he's a great drum set player. So we all had this connection to other forms of music. And then we became trained percussionists, you know.
Yeah.
We have to clarify that the career, even the academic career of a percussionist, is so different than the career of another orchestral instrumentalist,
Yeah.
for instance.
For starters, just the amount of instruments that you
The
have at
amount
your
of
disposal,
instruments
right?
and the combination of I always call the percussion family the family of contradiction, you know, because we have perhaps what it could be the family of the oldest instruments playing the newest music. You know,
Right.
the
Yes,
first
yes.
score for percussion instruments alone was written in 1930. That for the time of music or the development of concert music is nothing.
Right.
You know, it's just it's nothing. It was yesterday, you
Yeah.
know. So I always say that in that sense, you know, where the first piece of music, Amadeo Roldán's Rítmicas, alongside Edgar Varè's Ionization, that sounds for us like Monteverdi, you know. That is, for us, is, you know, the beginning of everything.
Yeah.
And on the other side, psychologically, is also so different, you know, because every instrumentalist, non-percussionist, has a very strong attachment to his or her instrument, you know. Oh, my flute, my violin is like my companion for life, you know, and things like that. And we, us percussionists, we have to be very detached of our instruments,
Sure.
because as you mentioned, the amount of instruments that you have to learn is overwhelming. So you need to let them go, you know. You love your marimba, but then, oh, I must stop practicing marimba because I have to learn this passage in steel pan, or
Yeah.
I have to go and to my multi-percussion setup. So you have to learn to be detached of your instrument. And when that happens, also something very interesting happens, because you start treating your instrument very different, and you treat it because of the acoustic features it has. And you discover that not only instruments, but also objects have certain acoustic features. So the line, the borderline between instrument and object is very thin.
Yeah.
same as the borderline between sound and noise. We percussionists, we say, welcome all of them, you know,
Yes.
welcome noise, welcome sound, welcome, welcome pulse find in instruments, welcome pulse find in nature,
Yeah.
like the tides, like the seasons in the year, like night and day. We perceive night and day, and we perceive pulse,
Yeah.
you know, a constant flow. Yeah.
And I think it's so wonderful how that shapes your identity, right? Because one of my favorite quotes is a quote by Pablo Casals that Yo-Yo Ma likes to share a lot. And the quote is, I am a human first, a musician second, and a
Yeah.
cellist third, right? But so
Yes.
the beginning is you're a human, and you know
Yes.
what you're describing, and that attitude and that relationship to the music and the instruments is one
Mhm.
that comes first and foremost, I think, from your humanity, right?
Yes, of course. And also, the way I interpret that is that an artist has to give us this interpretation of life in many ways. It could be using metaphors. I mean, a visual artist, those visual interpretations of could be of his perception of life or his imagination of an alternative artistic life, and he uses brushes, all sort of artifacts to paint, and the canvas or a wall, or his hands to make a sculpture, to sculpt, to create his vision of life, either utopic, imaginary, parallel, also constant, you know, but he is affected by everything that surrounds him as a human being.
Yeah.
And we are no exception. I think that we, when you are conducting, for instance, what you're doing is that you want to see how life affected you, you know, and you're using something in front of you that perhaps resonates with you to tell something that you have to
Right.
say, you
Right.
know.
Yeah.
And for that we respond. Luckily, we respond differently to all the stimulations that different music gives us. And some people say, very rightfully, I resonate much more with this period or this style of music. And you go to other, and it's exactly the same that you feel, I feel it. And it's this other different music
Right.
what
Right.
makes me feel that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love this richness and the diversity that music uh, provides us so generously.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, it's that takes me back to the idea that you know, you as a kid, you liked all these different types of music, and you were influenced by different types of art. That everything that we do and everything that we experience as humans will help shape who we are as artists. However,
Yes.
in order
Hmm.
to be able to deliver that
Yes.
effectively, you need to
Hmm.
have your technique. You need to put in the hours. You need to work. You need to
Ah,
build
yes.
your
Yes.
apparatus so
Hmm.
that then you can go to a session or a concert like you do with Tambuco and really sort of commune in the
Yes, of
music,
course.
right? So
Yes, you have to work in your craft,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know,
And then it's
to
like you liberate, you free your spirit
exactly.
to do that. So there are a couple of things that I would love to share with
Yes.
Metropolitan Youth Symphony students and our viewers. And the first is a video of Tambuco, and
Okay.
I would love to ask you to introduce it because earlier you were talking about the relationship between the four members of Tambuco, and that reminded me of a string quartet. And this video
Yes,
that we're going to
absolutely.
share has something to do with string quartet. So, would you mind introducing it, please?
Yes, yes. This is great. What we will listen is a work that was originally written for string quartet. And well, first of all, I love Ravel. Who doesn't? And I love because knowing his music, you can clearly see the progress of an amazing musical mind combined with what we said, a fantastic, spotless craft,
Yeah.
you know, in a time in history where when you know many concepts couldn't be contained in the same box and they were about to explode towards something else. If you listen, uh, for instance, this piece by Ravel that you will watch and listen, um, compared to the latest Ravel, you could see, for instance, if tonality was had some sort of form, this form was just about to explode to somewhere else, and it's interesting. Never mind color or texture. And in this case, well, this is the only string quartet that Ravel wrote. And the second movement, in general, the quartet is quite percussive, you know, but the second movement, it seems as it was written for marimbas, you know. When we play this piece, we say, when we finish, gosh, Ravel really knew how to write for marimbas, you know, because the sound is just for us was it was irresistible to play this beautiful music in four marimbas. Also, the range of notes, you know, the frequency of the notes are very similar to those of the string quartet. The lowest note on the lowest marimba is a C, which is the lowest note of the cello. And from there, you go. So it has that coincidence too. We always think that you need really good reasons to make a transcription, you know. And one of the reasons, or these reasons, must be guided by your ear, as well as the rest of this art, you know. Music is an art guided by the ear. The word of music in Japanese is ongaku, and ongaku means like the art that comes through the ear, you know, sound art, as same as we have visual arts. Right. So for them is that concept of sound art, everything that comes through here. Yeah. And that concept also includes or embraces everything that it turns around, not only music, but everything that has to do with music, so that this art reaches your ears in the most pure way. No coincidence that Japan has all these beautiful concert halls, yes, which the acoustics are perfect, one better than the other. Yeah. It's like unbelievable. Yeah. We got to play a lot in Japan, and they have so many concert halls. We have hardly repeated halls, you know, always new halls, and always we go there and we test the sound, and it's like, come on, this is not fair, you know. It's like that. So in that sense, I am saying that because going back to Ravel, that's one thing that we certainly like to portray.
Yeah.
We like to show the hours that we have invested changing these subtle things in the color of the attacks, all these things that we musicians do a lot, you know, to work in the quality of sound, in the projection of sound, in the very subtle changes, you know.
Yeah.
So we did this, we tried to do this with this video with Ravel, and I certainly hope that you enjoy it.
Yeah. Okay. It's so good. I'm very excited to share this with everybody. So here it is. Okay, Ricardo, we're back, and I would love to
Yes.
do our segment that we call Sound Advice. And here, what I would like to ask you is if you could travel back in time and visit high school age Ricardo, what advice would you have for him?
That's very interesting because many questions that I've asked to myself, it has been until this time, and perhaps the lockdown had to do with it because I had more time to reflect on myself, on what's going on. We are living an unprecedented time
Yes.
for all our generations. Nobody who is alive now went through an experience like this. And so even though we are speaking about vaccines, about how advanced science and technology is, the truth is that many things are unanswered, you know, and not only about medicine, about life in general. And we must use this time at least to give these answers to what's going on in our individual lives.
Yes.
One of the conclusions to which I arrived is that for sure I must invest in my health, both physical here in the terrace as well, and and my artistic health as well. You know, I was saying all of this because in this lockdown I had also time to answer many questions that I had in the past, but in the past I didn't have the answers, at least as clear. Maybe I have them a little bit more clear now. And the reasons why I do music, the reasons why I do music in the way I do it. For instance, why is for me so important this magic word of collaboration? Why it's so important to work with composers? And I will not go back to my teenage years. I will go back centuries before that, you know. I made this imagination exercise of, oh, wouldn't that be wonderful to be one of the musicians who premiered one of Brahms's string quartets, you know? Oh, I would have loved to be part of the choir that sang the first performance of Beethoven's Nine with the old man there in front of us, you know? Who wouldn't have liked that, you know? Just imagine that. I would have loved to meet Edgar Varese, you know, and discuss musical things with him, or Ravel, or Debussy. That's an amazing dream, you know. Well, that didn't happen to us, but it happens to us right now, you know. We have living composers.
Yes.
We don't know. They might be the Haydns, the Beethovens, the Debussys of the future in 200 years. We don't know, because history has many filters, you know. But we can certainly contribute a lot to help these voices go through these filters by having exceptionally faithful interpretations of their music. You know, if you play Beethoven wrongly, people say, oh, they didn't play well. But if you play a new piece in a wrong way, they say, oh, he's such a bad composer,
Yes,
you know?
yes, yes.
So we have a lot to do. And many of these things, I knew them intuitively, you know, intuitively. That's why for me it's very interesting to arrive to the conclusion of saying, well, unluckily, I didn't meet Ravel, I didn't meet Stravinsky, I didn't meet Debussy or Brahms or Beethoven or Mozart or Jean-Baptiste Lully.
Right.
Wow, would have been amazing. But I am alive now, here and now. That's the same conclusion as the pandemics. You are alive here and now, and you must do something about it, you know? So what I do about music is try to manifest music, or to let music as clear as possible, so that it can be understood. It can be taken and accepted as naturally as many other musical languages that we are used to listen are accepted, you know. That's something that I feel that is primordial for me.
That is so wonderful to hear, and it's such a great thing for our young musicians to hear, and for anybody who's in the profession, you know, about the importance of playing, not only playing the works by living composers, but playing them as best as we possibly can. And
Yes.
you know, we're it's our job and our mission to keep this, you know, to keep things moving forward, and to
Yes.
to cultivate, to use some of the names that you use, the Beethovens and Brahms of the future, because they're alive
Yes.
right now.
Of course.
Yeah.
The new needs friends.
Yes.
I heard somewhere that the new needs friends. I think that one of the key factors that we had with Tambuco is that we as percussionists are very accustomed to the new. As I said before, our repertoire is less than a century years old,
Yeah.
90 years old.
Yeah.
So we are naturally accustomed to new languages.
Yeah.
And we foster them and we welcome them. So a new piece with a total different system of writing, even the graphics are totally different than traditional notation sometimes. And we say, okay, yes, let's give it a try. And I think that because every member of Tambuco has this freshness existing in other musics, our performances are very direct and very straightforward, and that makes people accept them.
So, Ricardo, we here in Portland, we would have experienced a concert by Tambuco if it hadn't been for the pandemic. This would have happened just like 4 days ago, October 25th. So we will not get to see you guys in person, but there is a virtual concert coming up with Friends of Chamber Music on November 8th at 3 p.m. Pacific time, and then the concert will be available for 48 hours. So will you give us a little taste or preview of what we can expect in this virtual concert?
Absolutely. First of all, I must say thank you a million times to the Friends of Chamber Music in Portland, because as many things that I explain, I always go back, a lot. So at the beginning of this pandemic, in the middle of March, I started every day opening my computer and reading my emails, and every email had one cancellation, another cancellation. I just used to open my laptop, which is right here. I used to open it and then go like this. Oh no, one more, like that.
Oof.
So, and particularly because 2020 was such a wonderful year with many, every performance is great, but the way the year looked was beautiful, and many projects that were born 2 years ago, they were in preparation. This concert for the Friends of Chamber Music in Portland had been prepared for some time now, until we found the best time to do it. And so, of course, like many other presenters or festivals in which Tambuco was involved, started canceling, that was the first reaction. But after a couple of months passed, then it was very nice for us musicians to see the answer of people like the Friends of Chamber Music who said, no, let's rescue this, let's go for it. Why not? Let's think out of the box, let's reconsider this, and it might not be a live concert in presence of the audience and musicians, but let's rescue this effort of collaboration. Let's give value to this. And so we thank this decision because it's important for us, all musicians, from the major orchestras to the most modest, young, emerging musicians. We all suffer this. And so an effort like this is great. So we decided to go to our studio when it was time. We had to wait a little bit. And then we went to our studio. We are not very worried about the social distance in percussion, because as you will see in the concert, we are surrounded by instruments. So even our music stand is 2 meters away. Never mind the other player, which is farther. It's not
Right,
like
right, right.
string quartet
Yeah, yeah.
or wind quintet. No, it's like you, a universe of a jungle of percussion instruments, your music stand, and
Yeah.
way over there is like, hello.
So
So,
percussion ensembles were doing social distancing way before any of us were
oh yes,
started
yes.
doing it.
So that's why we are always ahead of our time. Yes. So that's
Oh, very good.
yeah. You must see this in the orchestra when you see the percussion section, because the whole orchestra grows like this, like a fan. And then the last row, you have a bunch of instruments being played by 3 or 4 guys.
Right.
All of that
Yeah,
space
yeah, yeah,
is
yeah.
taken by only three
It's
or
like a
four guys.
kitchen back there.
Sometimes more. Yes. So we decided to go. We met a really nice filmmaker, and who brought all his enthusiasm, all his imagination to film the concerts. We also recorded special audio, so the quality in video and audio that you will hear is really good. And we went to the studio and were working day, working for 2 days, you know, until we got everything right.
Yeah.
And we decided we didn't do any editing at all. So all the concert, both in audio and video, is just one take. You might have different takes from the cameras,
Sure.
but filming the same performance,
Yeah.
and is no repetition. The same applied, for instance, to the video of Ravel that you watched. So, and I think that we believe more in that, you know. If there's we all musicians have mistakes somewhere all the time. The day, I always say that the day that I don't have mistakes, that day I will retire,
Yeah.
you know, because they become a challenge to make it better the next time. And also Tambuco, that's almost like a policy of Tambuco when we record, you know. We believe in long takes.
Yeah.
The last CDs that Tambuco has done, we have recorded them in Japan for a Japanese label. They have been one take, only one take. After that take, if somebody is like, oh, well, I would like to, a little bit like the Photoshop, you know,
Sure,
I would like to take this mark out, or like discrete Photoshop is like, oh, I want my fat to be taken. No, so it's, but we use only one take.
Yeah.
And because that's how music occurs.
Right.
And what happens, the result is that all the interpretations are very calientito, we say in Spanish, you know, very warm, very alive.
Yeah.
And we also believe that recordings are like pictures that somebody takes you. It's you, it's who were you at the specific time and place.
Yes.
So we did this, and we are glad because you will see some pieces of music which are fantastic, you know. There's a piece of music by Hector Infanzon, which is played on our bodies only.
Yes.
There's one piece by the Belgian composer Thierry de May, who wrote a fantastic piece of music to be played on a table, musique de table.
Yes.
Amazing. It's amazing in the compositional point of view, but also in the choreographic point of view.
Yeah.
And plus other pieces of our repertoire that we are very, very happy to
Wonderful.
share with you. Yes. So
Wonderful. Yeah, we're all very excited
tune
to
in
watch
with
it.
the concert.
Yeah,
Yes.
the
Tune in with
Metropolitan
the
Youth
concert.
Symphony students and families we're gonna be watching, and we are also very thankful to Friends of Chamber Music, not only for creating this opportunity for all of us to enjoy Tambuco, but also for facilitating this conversation. And Ricardo, thank you for being so generous with your time and for sharing
Oh,
with our students and their families and
it's my pleasure,
Portland
Raul,
community.
yes, and well, we hope to see you first in the virtual concert, and hopefully, if time, future, this and future virus allow, to see
Yes,
us in person very soon.
absolutely. Thank you so much, Ricardo.
Thank you so much, and it's been a pleasure.
Bye
Thank you.
bye. That was Ricardo Gallardo, founder and artistic director of Tambuco Percussion Ensemble. So don't forget to join me on November 8th at 3 p.m. to watch Tambuco's free virtual concert on the Friends of Chamber Music website. So go to focm.org and make sure to have this on your calendars. Now, next week, our guests for Virtual Hangout number 59 are going to be the Forêt Quartet. And they come to us also courtesy of Friends of Chamber Music. The Forêt Quartet are going to be presenting a virtual concert as well. So I'm very excited to talk to them next week. And until then, take care.